What's up, guys? Today we're going to be talking about godly powers in Immortals Phoenix Rising.
The Golden God! I am untethered and my rage knows no bounds!
These are powerful combat skills and useful utility skills that can be upgraded several times and use stamina as a resource. Some upgrades increase combat effectiveness, while others provide certain advantages in navigating the world or completing challenges. I'm going to go over all of them one by one and tell you everything you need to know about these powers. My name is Park Attack. Let's get going. Before we get started, I just wanted to mention one thing real quick. The damage and stun numbers you'll see in the text, and actually any of the green text values, are scaled based on gear and mastery levels. Because of this, I won't be mentioning specific numbers, but rather comparative values such as high, low, decent, etc, etc. This is just to limit confusion so that you don't think something is wrong because your numbers don't match mine. And with that out of the way, let's get started with Athena's Dash. Athena's Dash is a nice combat ability that does medium damage and medium stun damage when compared to some of the other godly powers. It also works as a really good gap closer, getting you from point A to point B relatively quickly, and you are immune to damage while you are dashing. Something that isn't really explained very well in the text is that you have to be dashing into an enemy for the entire length of the dash in order to get the full amount of damage and stun. The last upgrade is pretty straightforward, as it adds more stun and damage at the very end of your dash, which can make missing the entire dash less painful. The laser immunity upgrade is a really useful utility, as it grants you immunity to any damage while dashing through lasers. The charge Athena's Dash upgrade allows you to hold down the button or buttons so that you can charge up your attack, which increases the damage and the stun, but also adds a nice shockwave effect at the end, which deals damage and stun in a large area after the dash is complete. The improved charge upgrade increases damage and stun even more, and also increases the area of effect of the shockwave at the end. One thing that you do need to kind of be aware of is that the shockwave at the end happens after the dash. So if you've stunned an enemy during the dash and then it gets hit by the shockwave afterwards, it's going to cut down that stun duration meter almost in half. Finally, the last way that Athena's Dash can be really useful outside of combat is as a means of lateral movement. If you've got a large gap to jump and you can't just make it by jumping and gliding, you can hit Athena's Dash right at the end and it might get you to where you need to go. On top of that, since the skill has no cooldown and it just takes stamina to use, as long as you have enough stamina, you can hit it multiple times in a row to cover even a larger distance. Herakles' Strength. This power allows you to pull objects to you and hold them above your head, and also to throw them. If you hold down the throw button, it will charge up the throw, which increases throw distance and trajectory, and in combat, it will increase damage and stun damage. The quick throw upgrade can be useful in combat, but I personally don't find myself using it that much, as simply holding down and aiming isn't that much of a hassle. It's definitely not a bad upgrade, it's just something that doesn't really excite me. The heavy lifting upgrade, on the other hand, is very exciting. Not only does it increase your throw damage by 50%, but it also allows Phoenix to lift heavier objects, which can be extremely useful for many puzzles. Herakles' Leap is an essential gap closer if you want to focus on air combat. This will get you up in the air on the same level as those flying enemies without having to use your double jump, so you can still use that if you need to maneuver around a little bit. But if you'd rather stay on the ground, Herakles' Pull can be used if you want to pull the flying units down to you. You can also use it midair if you want to pull flying enemies towards you rather than you going to them. Or if you really want to have fun with it, you can jump over a ledge and pull non-flying units off of the ledge and drop them down. Ares' Wrath. This power does a relatively low amount of damage, but it does a ton of stun damage. On top of that, all of the damage and stun damage in this power is done at the same time, so that you don't run into the same problem that you can with Athena's Dash, where you can stun someone during the ability and then accidentally knock down their stun meter a little bit with the final blow. The multi-hits upgrade is straightforward, it just increases the damage and stun of the ability. The Charged Ares' Wrath upgrade increases damage and stun damage, and also increases the area of effect when charged. The Improved Charge upgrade also increases damage and stun, and also increases the area of effect even more. Although this is a very good combat ability with unparalleled stun capabilities, you can also use it as a vertical mobility tool outside of combat. Similar to Athena's dash, this power costs 4 stamina to use and can be used over and over again as long as you have enough stamina because there's no cooldown. Since this ability moves you straight vertically and Athena's dash moves you straight horizontally, you can use these abilities in conjunction with each other to reach areas that you might not be able to reach otherwise. Phosphor's attack. At its base level, this power is pretty underwhelming as it comes with low initial damage and low initial stun damage. However, it can be upgraded in several different ways by using the Phosphor gear slot to make it more useful as either a combat ability or a utility ability. The Phosphor shockwave upgrade adds a big shockwave to the attack that actually deals more damage to the enemies hit with that than it does to the direct target. The Phosphor's cloak upgrade turns Phoenix invisible while slowly draining stamina. Phosphor's clone upgrade will create a medium-sized object that can be used to place onto pressure plates. This can be extremely useful for puzzles as it can save you some time from actually trying to find an object to place onto a plate. Phosphor's clone can also be used in combat with some of the gear choices, but in my personal opinion, it's a little clumsy to have to make a clone and then pick it up and throw it at somebody in the middle of combat. So generally speaking, there are usually better options for doing what you can do in combat with Phosphor's clone. Apollo's arrows. This power is used primarily for puzzles and challenges, but can be used in combat, even though in my opinion, it doesn't provide a huge advantage over just using your regular bow and arrow shots. The precision control upgrade, however, is amazing as it makes controlling the arrow incredibly easy, which makes a lot of the Odysseus myth challenges and other puzzles much easier. The explosive headshots upgrade is strictly a combat upgrade, which deals okay damage in a decent area, but it adds no stun damage, and it's not that much better than a regular headshot. Hephaistos' hammer. This ability deals the highest amount of damage out of all of the godly powers, but the lowest amount of stun. It also provides a nice knockback, which is nice when you're being surrounded by enemies and you just need to give yourself some space. The forward shockwave upgrade increases the area of effect into a large frontal cone. This area deals less damage than a direct hit, but more stun and still knocks enemies backwards. The charged and improved charge upgrades increase damage, stun damage, and greatly increases the knockback distance. Outside of combat, Hephaistos' hammer can be used to move objects. A non-charged attack will knock objects in more of a straightforward line. A charged attack will knock objects upwards into an arc. Most objects you're going to have more success with just picking up and throwing, especially once you get the heavy lifting upgrade for Herakles' strength. However, the heavy balls that you push around can never be lifted, so once in a while it is useful to be able to smack it with the hammer. Alright, now let's wrap things up with the conclusion. Athena's dash is a good combat power that does medium damage and stun damage and can give you good lateral movement both in and outside of combat, as well as immunity to lasers. Herakles' strength is most useful when picking up and throwing items, especially once getting the heavy lifting upgrade, which allows you to pick up heavier objects. Herakles' leap is great if you want to get up into the air for air combat, and Herakles' pull is great if you want to stay on the ground and bring the flyers down to you. Ares' Wrath is another great combat power that provides the most stun out of any ability in the game, but a low amount of damage. It also has a really large area of effect, allowing you to stun multiple enemies at once. Outside of combat, you can use Ares' Wrath to get good vertical movement to get up to places you might not be able to reach otherwise. Phosphor's attack starts out a little underwhelming, but is extremely flexible with the amount of upgrades that you can use to augment the ability. Phosphor's cloak is used to turn you invisible, which is utilized in stealth play, and Phosphor's clone can be used in combat, but finds its most use in puzzles and challenges. Apollo's arrows lets you control your arrows inside or outside of combat, although it generally doesn't provide a huge advantage for combat. If you're having trouble with some of the challenges, the precision control upgrade makes controlling the arrow much easier, making things a breeze. Hephaistos' hammer is another great combat ability, providing high damage, a low amount of stun, and a really useful knockback that hits a very large area, but doesn't really have any practical use outside of moving the heavy balls. Alright then guys, that's gonna do it for this video. Thank you so much for watching. Let me know what you think down in the comments. Like and subscribe if you enjoyed it. Stay tuned for more videos. Once again, my name is Park Attack. Peace.